Hello, I see you're interested in the Corsa with
mobile connectivity.
Exactly.
And advanced European engineering for a fun dynamic drive.
All for just £149 initial rental, then £149 a month.
Really?
Search Corsa Energy. Vauxhall. British brand since 1903. Personal contract hire offer on Corsa 3-door Energy 1.4 75 PS in metallic paint. Initial rental £149 plus 47 months at £149. Excess miles over contracted mileage of 20,000 over 48 months, charged at 5 pence per mile. You will not own the car. T's and C's apply. Offer ends March 31st, 2018. Offer not available with free insurance.
This Gamertag episode is brought to you by Gamefly. If you've ever wanted to try a game before you bought it, you should try Gamefly. It's the best way to buy and rent all your favorite games and movies. They're the leading video game rental service with over 9,000 titles to choose from. Just pick your favorite games and have them mailed straight to your door. Then keep them for as long as you want and never worry about late fees. Plus, you can cancel at any time. Visit Gamefly.com/Gamertag to start your free 30-day trial today. That's Gamefly.com/Gamertag.
Gamertag Radio presents E3 2016 coverage. Hosts Danny Pena, Paris Lilly, and Peter Toledo are direct from the convention center floor.
Here we go.
All right, this is T-Rock here with Gamertag Radio here on day 3 of E3 2016. Sitting here with Dennis Shirk, the senior producer. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you fit us in, so I want to be, real thankful for you guys for giving us the opportunity.
We're happy to talk about it.
All right, so brand new version of Civilization 6. Tell me what what gamers can expect with this newest iteration.
Wow, it's a sizable list. Well, the one thing we like to start off with is its foundation. Anybody that's played and enjoyed Civilization 5, it's going to feel very comfortable for them coming into Civilization 6 because we use that as our foundation to build on. Mm-hmm. So most of the gameplay systems all came forward into 6, and then we tuned them all to be part of the Civ 6 play styles. Mm-hmm. But then Ed took that and built on everything that's new. And the cornerstone of all of that is unstacking the cities. So in Civilization 5, everything was built in the city center. It didn't matter, buildings, wonders, etc. Everything was in there. And he didn't think that was a very interesting way to play. It didn't make you take advantage of the terrain around your city outside of resources. So he wanted to really make that whole thing more elevated. So now all of your stuff's built outside of your cities. You can put down a science district called a campus, and you build your library, your university, your research lab in there. You can build an industrial zone over near the ore, and you're going to be putting your workshop and your factory and your power plant over there. And what that does is it forces you to look around the territory to see where these things are going to work best. For example, you put down a campus next to mountains, and it's going to get bonuses for science because that's where they can build their observatory, things like that. Or next to jungle, they're going to get bonuses. The commercial hub works really well next to a river because historically the rivers are what really kicks off trade.
Right.
So whenever you're scouting the map, you're looking for your next city location, you're always looking at these places for where's going to be the optimal place to do it. And right along with that, we've split the tech tree in two, so now you've got a science path and you've got a culture path in the civics tree. We've got a whole new government system with policy cards that can be slotted into that, whole new diplomacy system. The list just goes on and on.
All right, so I sat in the presentation yesterday, so I was lucky to do that, and I noticed it almost felt not as, I don't want to say cartoony, but it wasn't as serious as previous versions. Can you explain the direction as to why that went like that?
Well, first off, we have a very stylized look to the game now, but that was done for a very specific reason. The biggest reason is, if you can recall, Civilization 5 had a very realistic look to it.
Right.
The problem with that look is when you got into the modern age and onward, straight through to information, you couldn't really see what was going on the map because it was very cluttered, it was very noisy, and it was very brown overall. You couldn't really see. But because we're unstacking the cities, we needed players to be able to see what they were looking at, zoomed in, zoomed out, without having to mouse over every tile and look at the tooltip to see what was going on. So, for example, if you have your campus down with all of your science buildings, they all have those blue roofs. They tie right into the science icons everywhere, so you know they're just generating science. The magenta buildings over in the culture or the theater square district, the gold roofs on the commercial hub. So you're going to be able to walk by an opponent's civilization or an opponent's city and see exactly what they have. Every building is modeled. Everything is completely pimped out, detailed out. You can zoom way in, see every bit of detail. When it gets burned or pillaged, it collapses. You see the smoke. You see every bit of detail to everything you build in the game. And this carries forward straight to the end of the game. You can read everything, and that was paramount to Ed. He wanted people to really understand what they were looking at and not just go for the realistic view. So in terms of it being more of a cartoony, fun look to it, we also really wanted to bring the personalities out in the leaders. You couldn't really tell what was going on in the Civ 5 leader faces, right? This time you see the emotion. If they're angry, you can see it. If they're happy, they're going to be boisterous about it. It just gives us a lot more room to play around with really having those leaders come to life.
So you bring up the leaders, and I noticed in the presentation Cleopatra and Franklin Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
Why those two characters?
Well, when we go about choosing characters, it's because they're going to serve a specific gameplay purpose. Ed's got a lot of ideas when it comes to what needs to be contributed to a game. So he's like, well, we need some civs to fill this kind of gameplay, some to fill this kind of gameplay. So a lot of that comes along with historic agendas. So in Civ 5, you had AI weightings to civs, so they leaned a certain way. Like if you played with Montezuma or Genghis Khan, you were probably just going to get invaded. They're very aggressive civs,
right,
but they didn't necessarily have a personality. So we're going to have that still in Civilization 6, but we also have agendas. So everyone has a certain thing that they like to do or that you can count on in a game. Teddy Roosevelt, for example, likes a quiet continent. Anybody that's on his continent, he's going to be friends with unless they're starting wars, in which case he's going to be your complete enemy and bad things will happen. Emperor Qin of China that you saw in the demo,
right,
he likes building wonders. He wants to be the most wondrous civilization in the game. Anytime that another player is having more success with that, building more wonders than him, is going to be his enemy, because that's what he wants. He might even try to take those cities and wonders from you to once again put him back on his perch of where he wants to be. So there's a lot more direction to how these civs play the game than there has before.
Okay. Another thing, I know typically in other civs when I've played, your base, your normal people would, they would do their tasks and do their tasks. Now they do their tasks, and if I heard right, they die.
You're talking about builders?
Yes.
Not die. It's more along the lines of hired and then finished. So think of it that way. They're not dying from exertion.
Right.
Basically, you're producing a builder now. And before, you build a worker, and the same worker you built in the beginning of the game was going to be there in the information error at the end of the game,
right,
if you protected them.
Correct.
And you just sent him about a task. Usually people clicked automate, and he just went around and just started automating things. Again, not a very interesting decision in terms of how gameplay rolls out. So builders now come with 3 charges, unless you're China, in which case you get 4. And they can go out, and you basically have paid to produce them, and they can build 3 different things. And then later on, when you need to, you build another one, and then they can do 3 different things. And that fits in much better with that whole unstacking the cities gameplay, because every hex is important. We wanted that same thing to come along with the builders. So wonders now take up tiles, these district take up tiles, so there's a lot more interesting decisions on what you do with it. So, yeah.
Okay. Why does the Chinese folk get 4 versus 3 for everybody else?
Well, Emperor Qin was big on building things, just historically, and so they got an extra charge, and that carries over for a few reasons. Through the ancient and the classical era, they can use builder charges to accelerate wonder production. So they'll contribute production to wonders. So if he's building like the Oracle, and you saw a couple different wonders in the video, they can actually accelerate it by about 1/5, like 20% of the production will go with each charge that you use. So you can actually get a lot of people working very quickly to finish wonders. So early in the game, he's very hard to beat in that wonder race.
Interesting. One last thing. Boost cards. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Sure. What boosts are is it's more of a active terrain kind of exploration model that we have in the game. We want the game to respond to how you play, and likewise, we want you to kind of respond to what's happening in the world. So an easy example of this for a tech boost, for example, is if you settle a city in the middle of the continent and you want to research sailing, it's going to take you a long time because you have no idea what sailing is. You're landlocked. Why would you need sailing?
Exactly.
But if you found a city on the coast, you're going to get a boost to give you 50% of the research towards sailing because you're now by the water. You get that.
Right.
You build a quarry on stone, and you're going to receive a boost towards researching masonry, so you get 50% of masonry. So depending how you're playing, depending on the map you're on, you might get different boosts that's going to maybe pull your playstyle in a different direction because things have become easier based on things that are happening in the game. Clear 2 barbarian camps, and you'll receive a boost towards bronze working, for example, because your people understand the need for better weapons after being in a couple combats with barbarians. So it's a really great active way to play the game.
All right. So to quickly go back to the leaders, which one is your favorite?
Right now, at least of the announced ones, my favorite is Chin, only because I'm a culture player. I'm a builder, and so I also want all the wonders. It's very difficult to do because wonders have they have very distinct requirements. So, like a great library can only be built next to a campus because it helps all the science. Pyramids can't be built in grasslands; it requires desert. Oracle on a hill. So these are other things that you're thinking about as you're scouting out future city locations. You always need to think about what wonders you might want in the future, what kind of things that you want to build, because the terrain really matters for stuff like that. But that's the reason I like Chin, because it gets you off to a really good culture start because you can rush those wonders in those first 2 eras. Gotcha.
All right. So once again, thank you for taking time out. Where can our listeners go to get more information on Civilization 6?
Well, facebook.com/CIV or civilization.com are both excellent places to go and check it out. And we're releasing on October 21st of this year.
Okay. Is there a platform preference or everywhere?
PC
Only.
is the way you're going to be playing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any intent?
That's all that's announced right now.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for answering that one then. Once again, thank you very much, Dennis.
Thank you for talking to us.
All right. No problem.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.